Hi everyone, my name is Jeremy, and on this channel I talk about color, light, and visual storytelling. It's been a while since my last video. A lot has happened in this past year. There's been a lot of personal things, family things going on that have made life difficult, so it's hard to post. But good things are still happening, and it is time to post a new video. I've been thinking a lot about people's growth. I have my own company now, and I train a lot of people from around the world, and business professionals and new artists wanting to start a career in their art. So I start to see certain themes a little bit more clearly. My 28 years working in the film industry and in the games industry has showed me this as well, but I see these themes of things that stop artists every single day. Does this sound familiar to you? You go to create artwork and you just randomly try something, and in one painting or one drawing you're like, hey, this is pretty good, I like this is great. And then you do another and you just fail, and you do another and you fail, and you do another and you fail, and you just don't like any of these pieces of artwork, and it's just frustrating. So you get online, and what do you see on other YouTube channels? This one trick to fix it all, and you're looking for some sort of magic solution that will fix everything. That set of brushes that's going to make things great. To buy that new camera that's going to just make everything great. To try this new codec. To try this new technology. To get some new latest, greatest thing, and this is going to be the secret to them all. And it still doesn't work. And this is where I see a lot of artists fail, and they stop. A while back, I made a video called The Dead Marshes of Art, and you can go and view that to get more information on it. But there are moments of things that will suck you down and stop you from pursuing your dreams of really advancing your art. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I see some themes. When I look at my childhood photo albums, the photos that my family took, I realize that most of the photos are pretty terrible photos. They captured moments. It's nice to see my past and my childhood in the 80s. That's kind of fun. But if we really look at the photographic record of this, there's so many shots that are blurry. There's shots that are overexposed. There's shots that are underexposed. There's shots where it's perfectly exposed, but somebody's complaining and having a bad time and ruining the family photos. And what I realize is that this approach that my parents took to photography was they relied on the camera to do the work for them, and they didn't really think about photography. They just pulled out a camera and snapped a shot, and they hoped for the best. And it was this random trial of how do we make, capture the essence of this scene and this happening in this event that was happening in our lives. And it meant that about 80% of the shots are kind of terrible photos. And occasionally you would happen to get a shot where like, hey, that's a good shot. It's in focus. The people are smiling and I can see the environment and I can tell what's happening. Or here's another one. That's a really nice photo, but I don't really know why this photo is good. I just take a huge amount of shots and then see what I get. I think that this is an approach that so many artists bring to their artwork too. They remember when they were kids, they would sit down at a piece of paper and they would draw something really creative, and in the end, people were like, ooh, that's a really pretty picture. And they liked that, don't think about anything, just sit down and be creative. And we start to think that this is what it is like for a professional artist. That they sit down and they're just creative and they come up with these things that are amazing and incredible in these worlds that are so rich and full of imagination. So we expect that our artwork will just naturally get to that same stage. And the truth is, that is no one's path. No artist has ever been able to just jump to, it's easy when I was a kid and it's easy now. There's always a stage of transition. And so the more I thought about this, I like to call this the curse of accidental success. When you make one piece of artwork that looks really great, but the other 20 that you do are, bleh, they don't do anything for you. What often happens to these artists is that they will find one skill that they're good at, and they will continue to exercise that one skill. Maybe you're good at drawing characters, and you just kind of draw fan art of anime characters, or you're really good at drawing robots, so you just draw robots again and again and again and again. And what ends up happening is another point of frustration is artistic atrophy, or a lopsided skill set, where you have one skill that is better than all the rest and then everything else suffers. I remember there was a movie that had a character who did this. He worked out one side of his body and not the other, just as a science experiment. And that is what a lot of artists end up having. And it causes so much turmoil because you now have a bar set so high in your mind for the quality that you want because you can do one of these skills and everything else is lacking. And so you just feel this off-sided approach to your work, and your work all looks exactly the same. Every single shot is exactly the same. I know this. I've done this in the past. You know, I just paint the same thing again and again and again, and I get stuck in this rut of one style. My art had a lopsided skill set. And in order to really grow to a level where someone would pay me to do my artwork, I needed to stretch beyond. I needed to have more breadth. I needed to be able to bring up all of the foundational skills. But I didn't know what the foundational skills were. There wasn't enough people online, talking about this, or in my life growing up before the internet, there wasn't enough people in my circle of influence that talked about what are the foundations of what's really important and what's not important. Even when I was going to school, art class was not about visual storytelling, it was more about crafts. Here's how to use ink, and now here's how to use pencil, and here's how to use oils, and here's how to use acrylics, and here's, they were just like trying all of the different tools rather than teaching the actual foundations of what makes good visual storytelling. I don't like to say art so much anymore because art is so subjective, and to some, art is a blue painting with a white line and they sell it for $40 million and it's an elitist thing in big city galleries, and to me, that's not what I do. I don't do that, so I like visual storytelling better because that communicates illustration. I'm telling a story. Everything that I've worked on, movies and games and television shows, have all been about storytelling and illustration, making worlds that people see that they're like, I want to go there, I want to live there, I want to explore there, I want to know what's happening in this story. And in order to do good visual storytelling, there are foundational skills that are important. But what is often taught online is not those foundational skills. They teach the tools instead. This Photoshop brush, this latest thing. And there's just, the world is flooded with information of how to use this software. And we think that our resume CVs should have, I know this software, I know the tools, I know the technology. And often universities will also teach just the tools and the technology, and they would forget the things that really matter. And these are the foundations of visual storytelling. And this also causes a lot of frustration because we go down these paths that are not the right paths, and we enter into something that I call an art vortex, where you're spinning in circles and you're not going anywhere and you're not growing and you're not learning. I do figure drawing, and there's a group of us that get together, and I have talked with a few people that say they go to figure drawing every single week and they are drawing the human pose and they're learning anatomy, but they do it for years and they don't see any growth in their artwork. It's because they are only doing that one skill. They're in the vortex, the whirlpool of only advancing one skill or not advancing it at all. There are so many things here that will stop us in our tracks, that will frustrate us, that will make us stop creating art. Let's talk about perfectionism. Perfectionism is something that I think is often taught in schools, where your value is based off of your grade, and your grade is something absolute, as if this is a skill that is math that is to be learned or not to be learned. And art or visual storytelling is subjective. You can tell it lots of different ways. So there is not a black and a white here. There is a theme that resonates with more people or not. You can make something that's really crazy and wild, but will people understand it? And this is why the foundations are there. Another thing that I think is really difficult is the idea that perfectionism is good. Some people wear it like a badge, and when you have an interview with them, they're like, I am a perfectionist, which means the quality of my work will always be high and I will sacrifice everything else to have high quality work. I will work 100 hours a week and I will just keep going and keep going and keep going. And to me, big red flag, this is not actually a good thing. If you are not getting proper rest, you're not going to do your best work. So the idea that trying to aim for perfection will make you a better artist sounds good on paper, but it's actually a lie that will come back and it will hurt you. And I think there's a different way. There's a different approach. What is the solution to all of this? There are so many things that frustrate us and stop us, and it hurts our mental health, and it hurts our self-identity, because if we put our identity as I am an artist and I have to make art that is excellent, and when I fail at that, I somehow fail at life, that I somehow think maybe I'm not an artist, maybe I suck, maybe it's not worth it at all, and I just don't have the natural talent. And I don't believe in that. I don't think that that is true. When I look at people who have inspired me in my past, and the people who have really succeeded in their careers as artists, there's a different mentality. It's not perfectionism. It's not trying to get the A+ grade. It is about curiosity and understanding the why. The best director that I ever worked with, Brad Bird, would always answer, with notes that we had to do for our shots. And it wasn't just do this thing. I've worked with a lot of directors, and a lot of directors give just, this is the law, follow this, change this thing, change that thing, call it a day. But Brad would make sure that we understood the why in our shot. This shot, right now, the lighting is going this way, and it's drawing too much attention to this thing, and the point of the shot is this thing, and we really want to draw our eye over here, so can we reduce the lights over here to draw attention to the thing over here? And that will make this story better. Once I understood the why, then I could apply that to my future shots and make less and less mistakes. It was less about randomly trying every possible thing and only getting success 1/10 of the time or 1/20th of the time. If I understood the why, my chance of success increased dramatically. This is what we want for our art. In my mind, the difference between a professional and a hobbyist is not the quality of the end work. It's the percentage of the pieces that reach that quality level. An amateur might produce a beautiful piece of artwork randomly and then have a whole bunch of 80% failure rate, 20%, 20% success rate. But a professional, flip that, where you have 80% of the time you do really good and 20% of the time you fail, because we always fail. There's always something new to explore. There's always some new creative visual puzzle to solve as a concept artist, an illustrator, as a visual storyteller. There are things that are just difficult to communicate. And so the key here to me is being able to always ask why, to be curious, to be an adventurer and to explore. And the frustration will drop dramatically if you change your mindset from perfectionism to a curious explorer, because then when you fail, you've still succeeded because you've learned something. All right, I've tried that enough times. Maybe I need to change my perspective. Maybe I need to step out of my bubble and look at something from another worldview. Maybe I need to expand the library in my mind, the creative library. Maybe not just draw that one thing I've always been drawing. Maybe I don't just draw characters. Maybe for a while I explore environments, and I explore storytelling, and I explore lighting, color, and material, and composition, and cinematography, and design, and shape language. You start to really look to what are the foundations that truly matter. It's not the tools, it's the actual foundational skills that matter. These are the things that we can learn that will expand our actual art, that will take us from these art vortexes and actually move us out further downstream to where we can tell greater stories. Be curious and ask the why. When you do get stuck and you find yourself in an art vortex, get some guidance. Find somebody who succeeds at what they're doing that inspires you and reach out to them. Ask them, can you help me get out of my little art vortex? Can you show me what you did to make your work so magical, and give me one simple piece of advice? And this really helps. You can take classes, you can learn from YouTube videos, but definitely spend more time creating than talking about creating and learning, because learning itself can become its own art vortex. It can be one of those things that you are an eternal student and you never create your own pieces. You're spending 8 hours watching videos and only spending 1 hour creating, and that's also going to be incredibly frustrating. Spend 4 times as much time creating than talking about creating, and I promise it will lead to good things. And when you get stuck, ask for guidance. Let's come back to the example of photography. And when I was a teenager, I got my first camera, and I was fortunate to be able to do a lot of traveling. And when I traveled, I took random pictures, and I started to make the same mistakes that my parents did. Some shots were blurry, a lot of shots were overexposed or underexposed. And this was film. There was no adjusting in post later. You couldn't fix any of the things that were underexposed or overexposed. So you just kind of got what you got, because I wasn't developing my own film. And when I started to really learn more and I became more curious, I was able to start making shots that were beautiful. I remember going to Disney World many years ago, and the lighting at night was so beautiful, and I was trying to capture the essence of the magic of the lights at night, and I just didn't understand enough about photography. My fail rate was 100%. I took so many pictures that were all blurry and gross, and no matter what I did, I couldn't understand it. And as I developed further into my knowledge of photography and composition and cinematography and understanding the way the camera worked and how to control it, my success rate increased dramatically. And now my success rate when I take photos is 90%. Almost every single shot I take is in focus, is properly exposed, and I know how to kind of craft images a lot better. I still have mistakes, but it's just so much more satisfying as an artist, and I love photography even more because of it. Because I was curious, and I learned, and I stretched myself and tried to learn something new. So I hope this is encouraging. Thank you for watching today. Remember, curiosity over perfectionism, and just go out there and pursue the world. Question everything. Ask why. Not as a skeptic. I think a lot of people ask why because they're like accusatory, like this idea must be terrible, so I'm asking why, as a skeptic. But ask why more as an adventurer. Like why? Why? Why would that rule or that note make this illustration better or make this ideology better? And if somebody can't tell you the why, maybe that rule isn't worth following. This applies to more than just art. I think this is one of those things that we as humans always need in life, is a curiosity that will lead to adventure and connectivity and the human soul and the human spirit. And when we talk about politics and religion and philosophies and so many other areas, we should always be asking why. Why do we do this thing? And if there isn't a right answer, if it can't be answered, or if someone tells you you're not supposed to question this, I would question that. I think that we should, as a human species and as beings on this planet, always ask why, always know why, and focus on human kindness. In the world that we live in, the political climate that we're in the world, things are scary and very uncertain. And so what I have to come back to is the people in my life, and what do I want to do with my life? And this is why visual storytelling to me is so important. Our stories matter. Now more than ever is a time where we need to rely on the connectivity of people around the world and really valuing each other's stories, because that's what makes us human. That's my opinion. That's what I think. But I'm going to put kindness first and curiosity way up there on the list. Thanks for watching. As always, keep creating. If you want more information about light and color or the mentoring, please go to my website, lightingmentor.com, and learn more there. And if not, enjoy this YouTube channel and keep creating. Thank you.